Christopher Rodriguez, and I'm chairman of Visit Britain.
And what are you looking to get from the WTTC event?
Well, I'm on the executive committee of the WTTC, so I've come here in part to contribute, but I think this is an extraordinary event to get the pulse of what's important to the travel and tourism industry worldwide. And in our opening session, it's very interesting how far the industry has made progress on the whole issue of sustainable tourism. What was a sidebar interest 3 years ago is now centre stage.
And what can travel and tourism be doing now to make itself, number one, higher up on the agenda, but also to make a real difference in terms of sustainability?
I think in terms of sustainability, there are three areas. One is to share best practice. There's an enormous amount of work going on around the world, and we need to share it, to stand on each other's shoulders to get the best solutions that are available. The second, I think, is to have a clear consumer charter. Consumers find sustainability a big, broad subject. What they want to know is what they have to do to be responsible tourists. And in the UK and around the world, I think you're going to start to see consumer charters that make it simple for them. And then I think the third thing is to try and understand how we can work together with governments over time to ensure that the infrastructure that is put in place is infrastructure that supports sustainable tourism development.
And tell me about some of the things that Britain and the UK is doing to share in terms of best practice and is able to share with our partners around the world.
Well, we're actually exactly at the stage I described. Visit Britain, working with various bodies, are in the process of pulling together what best practice is and disseminating it. You have to do this in a way that is acceptable. I mean, it's a very simple point, but water and sewage are two of the things that have the biggest carbon footprint. It's really important to get people to conserve. And if you are rebuilding a bed and breakfast, you might put in dual flush loos. Right now you can put in a brick. And when you have 1 million flushes a day, that's meaningful water. So we're trying to do this both by gathering best practice and by disseminating simple things that people can do. The second thing is that we're beginning to develop green globe swing tags, as I would call it, rather like kite marks, which tell you which organizations meet, which tourism organizations meet minimum sustainable delivery standards, and I hope that over time we'll raise the bar on what those standards are. But you need to know as a consumer who's paying, who's playing, and who you can rely on to be looking after sustainability when you buy tourism product from them.
And we're joined here by people from all over the world, and we've noticed a very strong kind of contingent here from China. One of the in your kind of Visit Britain capacity, one question I wanted to ask you was about sort of what are the new markets, what are the new opportunities for Visit Britain?
Well, the new markets have in the recent years and still are the accession countries in the EU, which have been a tremendous influx. I think right now one of the old sustainable markets is going to be very strong for us, and that's mainland Europe because of the strength of the euro vis-a-vis the pound. I guess that offsets the weakness of the dollar against the pound, which means we're having a softer US market. As you develop longer term, it's the two markets that have the people. It's China and India. Though in both cases, initially, tourism growth is going to be local. So the Chinese demand in the short term is Southeast Asia. But we have to play the long game. We have to invest in those markets, which we are, to build an aspiration to go to Britain at some stage in the future. And then we have to be ready to handle them. We've got to improve our visa processes. We've got to improve our ability to handle inbound tourists from China who don't understand the language fully. The French did this with the Japanese 20-30 years ago and made a very good fist of it. We have to do the same sort of thing to make Britain welcoming for the Chinese. The Indians, of course, typically will speak English, but so we don't have that kind of issue, but we have to equally market Britain as a destination to that gigantic 200 million middle class who want to travel.
And in order to achieve those objectives, what do you think is the role of kind of the internet and technology in enabling you to achieve those goals?
There are two things that make you to travel to a place. One is a dream, the aspiration to go, and that is rarely provided by the internet. It's provided by public relations, by articles, by media, by television programs, all the things that Visit Britain does. And we generate £1.3 billion worth of publicity overseas for Britain. And that creates the dream. What the internet is a fantastic way, once you've decided you want to go, to find out precisely what you want to do, what's on when you want to go, to organise your travel, do the ticketing and all of those things. But you need them both.